Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new video. In this video, if I do sound kind of weird, I have a sore ass throat. I woke up yesterday and the goddamn bacteria in my throat was like, nah, you ain't gonna have fun for the next 2, maybe 3 days, I don't know. Anyways, so I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different, and as you can see here, we have the tier list for all the vehicles and also the tier list for all the maps. We're first gonna start out with the map list because, you know what, my watch time is down. I need people watching more. If you're only here for the vehicles, just, you know, skip ahead, I guess. First, starting off, we have the automation test track. It's a very good map for testing all sorts of different vehicles, from rally to race car to probably drift as well. I'm not too fond of this map. I don't use it. I use the racetrack on West Coast USA. So I'm gonna give this map a nice A tier. I think it's a good map for testing. Probably one of the better ones. Car jump arena. The main attraction to this map is the car jump, obviously, but there's also there's some other things I forget. I think jumping cars off at like 200 miles an hour also deserves an A tier. Cliff. With this map, this one was very common back in like 2017, 2018 BeamNG content. Nobody plays it anymore. I don't know. I'm gonna give this one a B tier. It's okay. Derby arenas. I honestly have no clue. Okay, judging by the map, I'm gonna give this map I'm gonna give it a B tier, and I'm gonna bring Cliff down to C tier. East Coast USA, very good map. It has a very nice highway. You got gas stations, you got the city area, you got like a big elevation changes, and you have a lot of off-roading stuff as well. I think this is a very well-rounded map, so I'm gonna give this an A tier. ETK Driving Center, Driver Experience Center, should I say. Or I think this is supposed to be a play on the BMW Driving Center or something like that, so I don't know, the B tier, I guess. Grid Flat Map, S tier. Well, in this image, we have the classic grid map. The classic grid map is definitely an S tier, but the newer grid map, honestly, it doesn't feel the same as the old one, and I feel like the old one really never got boring. So if you're saying the old grid map, I'd say S tier, but if you're saying the new grid map, I'd definitely say A tier. But since this one's showing the old grid map, I'm leaving that in S tier. Hirochi Raceway, honestly, it's also an A tier. It's on a similar level as the automation test track. They're very similar. Industrial site, honestly, the main attraction for me for this map is the container land. There's also like drifting areas through the industrial areas of that thing, but it's like it's so overgrown and stuff. It's not very fun and easy to go around. And I guess you got a little bit of rally, and then you also got the roads that are the average Canadian road with like 7 trillion potholes. So I'm gonna give this one a B tier. Italy has a wide array of roads, not roads, half roads. So I think this one deserves an S tier because it's also really big. Jungle Rock Island, small island USA. There's not much to do on this island. Both the rally and the regular roads aren't that good, so I'm gonna say that's a D tier. Utah USA. To be honest, whenever I think of BeamNG now, I think of Utah a little bit more than most other maps, because honestly, I'm gonna say it's one of my favorite maps because you got rally roads, you got the rally time trials, you got big tunnel highway. You got a lot of things to do on there. Not including Utah Extra, which is an amazing reimagining of the Utah map. So I'm honestly going to say this one's also an A tier. So here we got California. I'm going to give that a D tier. Nah, but in all seriousness, West Coast USA, honestly, I have to say a B tier. Anyways, on to the vehicle tier list. So here we got the 200BX, and obviously it's based off a Nissan S chassis, so it's a drift boy and not much else. For that reason, I'm honestly going to say that this thing is A tier. We got the Barstow. Who uses that thing? So you got the Bruckle Bastion. Honestly, I think it's great that they added like some sort of modern American muscle to the game. It adds a little bit more variety of cars that are 20 plus years old, and then the newer 1 or 2 cars that are in the game. So for that, I'm gonna say probably A tier. Next, we got the Blue Buck. This thing's pretty good, so I'm gonna say that this thing's also an A tier. Bolide. I don't know how the hell you say it. Sorry to any of the Italians. Honestly, this thing is a very good vehicle. It's difficult to control sometimes, but like it's challenging to drive, and that's what makes it fun. So I'm gonna say it's a S tier. So next we got the Burnside Special. So next we have the what's the name of this thing? So next we got the bus. S tier for rocket. Here we have the vehicle that I'm probably most familiar with, the Corvette, the Civic. Honestly, I'm gonna say this thing before the mid-engine update would have been a B tier. But honestly, now I think it's an A tier because you get a bunch of different modifications and stuff, and you also have literally a mid-engine Civic. What else could you want? We have some ETK. I have no clue what it is because I don't care. I'll give it C tier because it's a wagon. If it wasn't a wagon, it would have been D tier. I believe this is the Grand Marshal. I'm pretty sure this thing's based off of a Crown Vic, and who doesn't love a Crown Vic? A tier. So with the Hopper, this thing is actually kind of crazy. It has like a bunch of different configs. You got like the white girl Jeep, and then you got the crawlers stuff. You even have a drag version that will literally bend the frame every time you do a launch. So honestly, this thing, I feel like this is also an A tier. So here you got the EDK I series. You can't go wrong with an old BMW. So I'm going to say this is also an A tier. So here we got the EDK K series. To be honest, all I remember this thing is like the modern day sports car before the Scintilla existed. So honestly, I'm just going to say that this thing, I think is a B tier. So we got the Wendover. To be honest, I kind of like this thing, especially for the fact that it's like front wheel drive V8. Since most other V8s in the game are front engine rear wheel drive, GM actually did a lot of front wheel drive V8s back in the day, for good or for worse. So I'm gonna give this thing a respectable B tier for what it is. Holy shit, I just realized that's the Legrand, not the Wendover. That's the Wendover right there, bruh. Moonhawk. One of the most vivid memories I have of this thing is someone made like a V12 8-wheel drive mod or something, so I'm gonna, yeah, B tier. So next we have the early gen Pessima. You'd expect this thing to be front wheel drive, but surprisingly it's not. And surprisingly, it's pretty good at drifting for what it is, so I'm gonna put this also in A tier. And then you have the Blob, the second gen Pessima. I don't use this thing because it's like ugly as shit, so I honestly says this thing's gonna be a C tier. Autobello Bicolina. I just butchered the shit out of that. S tier just for that. Gavril D series, the poster child of BeamNG. It's what you spawn in with, and the vehicle that has the most customization stock, I think. But that's also an S tier. Pigeon, S tier. Gavril Romer. This thing's actually kind of fun to use, especially for the fact that it has good off-road capabilities and good off-road configurations. So I'm gonna say this thing's also an A tier. This thing's pretty good. So we have the ESRB, or the SBR4. So this thing is probably most commonly known as being electric, even though like the hill climb and other versions of this thing are gas powered, but it has both. So honestly, this thing's also A tier. The T series. A big truck. A tier. So we have the Sunburst, the natural predator of the K series. It's a pretty good car. I mean, like, for most vehicles other than the Vivis, the rally configurations are kind of mediocre at best. So honestly, I'm gonna say this thing is a B tier. So we have the Charrier Tograk. Tograk, I don't know. Honestly, I do not use this thing because there's a way better version, so I'm just gonna give that C tier. Van, hell yeah. The Charrier Vivis, both the on-road rally and the off-road rally absolutely dominate in their respected divisions. The only thing this thing is missing is a drift version, so for that I'm just gonna put it in A tier. If it had a drift version, it would be S tier. So now we have the Wendover, the Legrand. I know it has a wagon customization. I don't use it that often, but I'm gonna say it's B tier. Fittingly, this thing is in a yellow paint job, which means it is in fact a cheese boy. So that thing's getting an S tier. And finally, what may or may not be my most controversial opinion of the video, the brand new, well, last update, supercar This thing would be S tier if it had a manual transmission, but knowing how most hypercar, supercar companies are nowadays, except for Koenigsegg, because those guys are absolutely insane. Most of those companies do not put manuals in because maybe they don't want the consumers to just mess up their cars, I guess. But honestly, I think this thing, it's an A tier. And that's it. There's my BeamNG everything tier list. So if you guys agree with this, make sure you leave a like. But if you guys disagree with this, I really do not care, and you should also leave a like, because the government is controlling you. I'm in your walls. I'm in your walls. I'm in your